Hello everyone, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're at right now. I got a brilliant idea for a wrestler. You know these bad wrestlers you've seen in WWE? You know, the really bad ones like Ronda Rousey, Goldberg, and Logan Paul? You know, the ones who have no likability whatsoever, and anyone who puts up with their destructive antics becomes karmically punished. Because not letting their antics slide is one of the worst sins a wrestler can commit in WWE. The wrestlers who have no redeeming qualities whatsoever, not putting in effort that other talent put in to justify their moments in the business, and almost enrage everyone to the point of insanity. Well, what if we made a wrestler who inherits every single attribute I have explained? I know what you might be thinking. Aren't I supposed to be talking about Roman Reigns? And isn't this video supposed to be a response to a certain other video on the internet? You know, a video from Wrestling Hub titled "Enough of Bray Wyatt, He's Ruining WWE." No, it's not about that at all. It's about me talking about Roman Reigns and his flagrant disregard of the world around him and his inhabitants, and how everyone who tries to stop the technical face of the company that he is are all dragged through the mud. I might receive a lot of hate for saying this, but Roman Reigns is the worst wrestler in WWE and represents everything wrong with modern wrestling these days. There is no competition. As you can already probably tell if you've seen my video on him from last year, I don't like him very much. Growing up, I watched Roman Reigns wrestle matches in WWE, and he was one of the wrestlers I had on the now discontinued WWE Immortals mobile game. And he felt like one of the many wrestlers in that era that I didn't have a problem with. Though I didn't like certain wrestlers such as Bray Wyatt, for some reason. What the hell was I on? Though as the years went by, I started to realize people weren't buying the idea of Roman Reigns being the face of the company in the same way John Cena was. It seems like WWE wanted him to reach the crown of John Cena at the time. And it was not a good time to be a fan of John Cena at the time. You see, most people like John Cena and the matches he put on in the past. The matches he's been in since being a Hollywood star were not exactly liked as much as his past matches, to say the least. But when WWE tried to find another wrestler to replace him as the face of the company, it has mostly fallen flat on his face. Roman Reigns is the most obvious example. Actually, I don't think it's best to describe him like that. I don't like this wrestler, and that seems to be because his gimmick seems to be one of these gimmicks that are specifically designed to piss me off. If someone wanted to make a wrestling gimmick just to spite me, this is the gimmick that they would make. Roman is known as the tribal chief now, and he's a megastar, and he's the best in the business, and it doesn't feel justified. What's wrong with his gimmick, you may ask? Well, if we look a little closer, you'll know it's everything! Everything is wrong with him! If I can compare him to someone, he's an insufferable version of Bugs Bunny with plot armor, but without the humor or the cleverness. He's just a big bully who bosses around anyone who can, and assaults them while causing bodily harm just because he got sick of being booed by wrestling fans for years. He's a sociopath who loves to abuse his own cousins, the Usos, whether it be physically or psychologically, just to get them to do his bidding while putting all the weight of the bloodline on their shoulders, and will go out of his way to make them suffer should they fail him, or turn their backs on him, or just being themselves, rather than who he wants them to be. I hate the Usos because they help Roman win by cheating most of the time, which Solo Sikoa is also guilty of. Clash of the Castle 2022. But at the very least, for the Usos, I can see why they turned heel in the first place due to peer pressure, whereas Roman Reigns turned heel out of pure selfishness and greed. And you want to know the saddest part? I was actually happy when he returned at SummerSlam 2020, despite the fact that he performed a spear to the Fiend Bray Wyatt, who I started to like and appreciate more than I did in the past, not realizing that this was only the beginning of what I consider to be the downfall of WWE. And it's all the out-of-touch, greedy, and biased megalomaniac that is Vince McMahon's fault. I went from liking Roman Reigns and hating Bray Wyatt before liking and eventually loving him, though not in a romantic way, to hating Roman Reigns with a fiery passion as time went on. And it's not just his gimmick that's the problem. It's the fact that everyone he faces either gets screwed over, dragged to the mud, or both at the same time. Or, to an even worse extent, character assassination. Specifically speaking, about Brock Lesnar. He went from an absolute locomotive of a beast into an absolute joke who lost the majority of his matches since his return to WWE in 2021, whether it be by interference or otherwise. Brock Lesnar's character has been horrifically butchered. Just think about his last confrontation with Omos. If that isn't proof, then I don't know what is. Here's a lesson for all of you to take away, and this lesson doesn't just apply to just wrestling, but to stories, TV shows, video games, basically every movie ever released. You don't have to make your old characters look like trash in order to make your new one shine brighter by comparison. It is possible to write your new characters to be awesome without bringing the old characters down with them. You can do it. Or you can do what WWE did and make wrestlers fans love make fools of themselves when facing Roman Reigns. Gosh, I hate this wrestler so much. Not the person playing him. I suppose he's a nice guy in real life, when he's out of character, by the way. I get that he's supposed to be hateable, and honestly, that's the only thing WWE has done a good job at. But here's an idea. Maybe stop making heel wrestlers the best in the business, because they mostly end up making the outcomes of matches predictable. But what about Bray Wyatt, you may ask? The reason why his gimmick works is because with enough build-up, it leaves people like myself wanting more, eager to find out who would win. It makes his storylines intriguing because the outcomes look like they could go either way. The reason why Roman's gimmick fails is because, especially since he's now a double champion, WWE doesn't make his storylines intriguing. They simplified them, made it easy for people to predict who would win. So easy that no one finds it fun anymore. He could work fine as a jobber or even a mid-carder, but under no circumstances do I think he works as a main eventer, or tribal chief if you prefer, if you understand the needle mover reference. And honestly, that wasn't something I liked particularly about Goldberg, Ronda Rousey, and Logan Paul to begin with. As for Roman, he's closer to the bottom. While he is keeping WWE afloat in terms of financial stability as far as I know, he's also tarnishing their name, devaluing their name, because now I expect every single one of his matches to suck absolute cucumber. I don't watch his matches expecting them to be good. And that's honestly heartbreaking, because people like me should never watch his opponents participate in these matches with him, expecting them to be bad. We should be given some sense of urgency that matches that they're in could turn out to be great. But there is none. None whatsoever. WWE proved it. They could give a crap. So why should we give a crap knowing it's the same piece of rotting crap? Or in other words, basically the same thing. I'd rather fade into obscurity than to drag my name in the dirt even more and tarnish it even more. And so that's why I have absolutely no hope for Cody Rhodes in his match against the Tribal Grief at WrestleMania 39. It's gonna be an absolute dumpster fire. I'm calling it right now. All I want is for Triple H, who is no longer stuck keeping promises to Vince McMahon, let me remind you, to prove me wrong. Because so far, he's proving me right. And if he doesn't prove me wrong and put the belts on Cody Rhodes, then WWE's fate is already sealed. Doomed to a fate of WWE being a company who just can't let go of their biggest cash cow. With that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you agree or disagree? What are your opinions on Roman Reigns? And I'll let y'all know of what I think of WrestleMania 39 when I see it. And when I get the chance. At this point, I expect it to be mediocre at best and an absolute trash fire at worst. Until then, this is Briox Studios, and I'm out. Take care, everyone.